me talk to you.
The biggest icon in wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me talk to you.
There you go. Now you guys can hear me. Okay, welcome. We are back after a week off. Let me talk to you. Episode number 15. My name is Frankie Fresco, and of course, my brother next to me, the homie DiTrapio. What's up, Nick? How's everything going?
What's up, brother? Everything good, man. Just another day in paradise.
Yes, sir. And then, of course, we have a lot to talk about in the NXT world. We got a little bit of Dolphin talk here and there. We'll talk some college football, the Miami Heat, and then we'll capitalize and take advantage that today Inter Miami is actually playing. So we got some soccer going on. We'll keep you posted on the score. I believe they're winning 1-0, right?
Actually, I believe it just started. But in fact, Colombia is playing in the Gold CONCACAF Women's Cup, and they are indeed winning 1-0 against Panama.
Oh, well, I expect them to beat Panama. I don't think Panama should be any competition for them, but you never know, right? Can't ever pass, your opposition and assume that they're going to be a cakewalk. All right, so let's go ahead and first let's talk a little bit about wrestling, some NXT, ladies and gentlemen. And NXT last night was taped, so you guys might have known already what happened. If you guys didn't, there was a couple things that did happen. They had the number one contenders match for the tag team for obviously Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. And what ended up happening was Chase U had to go against Maxium and Frazier. And Duke Hudson and Andre Chase, they pulled it off. So now they're the number one contenders for the tag team belt. So they're going to be challenging Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. But here was the surprise that a lot of us did not expect. It was the arrival of the OC, baby. The OC making its way from SmackDown over to NXT. It was Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and they come and they attack Chase U, man. Impressive. I actually like it, Nick. I like the fact that they brought the OC over to NXT. I've always felt that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are kind of underutilized in SmackDown. I mean, they were very big when this guy AJ Styles was with them, but ever since AJ kind of has done his own thing, it's kind of like, you don't see them as much anymore. I mean, they just here and there, but they're not being utilized. And I think this is a really good opportunity for NXT to, showcase them. I think they're going to stay down there. I think I'm noticing kind of like a trend, and I think it's not a bad trend. And it's the fact that they're bringing in people that typically are lost in either SmackDown or Raw and putting them in an NXT. That way they could get, some showing out there. And I think they're doing a good job. I mean, I personally think Baron Corbin's career, his wrestling character has actually kind of like come back. Like I didn't like Baron Corbin, and now, he's a tag team with Braun Breaker. And in the last pay-per-view, they came out in the motorcycles and everything. So I was like, yo, kind of like a resurrection of his wrestling career for there. So I like it, man, and I think they're gonna be eventually the ones who are gonna challenge Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, just maybe, they decide to challenge Chase U and get their number one spot. So instead of lining up Chase U versus Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker, I think they'll challenge them and then take their number one spot and then go after it'll be Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker against them. What do you think? What do you think in your opinion? Do you like the move? Where do you see uh the OC, the Good Brothers, do over there in NXT? Do you think they're just gonna be a one hit wonder, or are they gonna stick around? What's your take?
I think honestly, I think like what you pretty much said nailed it. Like there's these wrestlers, and we always go ahead and notice that these wrestlers that really don't have any big parts in these storylines, and now that like how you said they were a little bit underutilized, and putting them in NXT, which is another platform that WWE is trying to grow into, allows the audience to tune in back and forth with shows. And I think this is a good move, and luckily this would be a good push. Doesn't mean this is like something that always works out for everyone, but I think with, like you said, everybody's resurrecting their storyline, their persona, and I think this is a good move overall.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I actually feel that this could help Luke and Carl, because at the end of the day, they both, I think they need it, man, and I think they're gonna get much more attention than what a lot of us have seen from them in SmackDown. And in the other case, I think it's also a good matchup. You know, a Braun Breaker and Corbin against them. I think it's bound to happen. I think it's a good decision. I'm glad that they brought him in, and not only that, but you also get Chase you Duke Hudson and Andre Chase some experience with some SmackDown talent as well. And you know me, I like Chase U. I'm glad that they were able to come up with a way to save the university from the they had. And now, they're on, they're riding high, and not only did they win the first uh contenders match, but now, they might have to I might have to go against the OC, which the OC, that's good experience for them. And eventually, it might give them
A
at least
push.
yeah, it'll give Shawn Michaels and Triple H a good view of what the OC, I'm sorry, what the Duke and what Andre Chase can do against that type of wrestling.
Correct.
Because like you always want to test them. Yesterday when me and Sean were doing the wrestling show, we said somebody, I think it was Josh who brought it up, saying about Jay Cargo and all that stuff, and when we were talking about how I personally thought NXT was a good spot for her to start, making some matches there for her. That way she could get used to it and see how she can contend against some of the other opposition. That way, when she moves up to the main roster in SmackDown, she won't look lost. I think that's what NXT does. I think at the end of the day, NXT likes to, serve their up and coming talent. That way, eventually they're ready. Look at Tiffany Stratton now. Look at this guy, a Braun Breaker. He's also now probably now he's in the main roster in SmackDown, so he's kind
Carmelo.
of doing it. Carmelo's another one. So all these guys have done a good job, even before them, like Shotzi was one, Io Sky was another one, and even before that, which was Charlotte Flair, Bailey, all those, Seth Rollins, all those people. So it's like, kind of like the indie for WWE to move on to the next one. So I think it's very good. The other thing we got to talk about, which was very, very unfortunate, a lot of people knew about it, but had not seen how how this happened. But of course, everybody was excited about the main event. Shotzi was supposed to go against Lyra Valkyrie. And
Hmm.
like maybe like I would probably say like 3 minutes into the match, it's unfortunate Shotzi was actually outside of the ring with the ropes, and she goes to do kind of like a DDT to knock Lyra down, and but instead of just she dropped her feet on the ground, and when she
Yeah, it was
dropped the
weird.
ground, she felt something, and you could tell that it was something that unfortunately she pulled. And if you saw the match at the beginning, she had done some, like, I don't know if you noticed, guys, but when she came out and they were, NXT always does this, they'll go ahead, well, every wrestling kind of does it, but they'll be like, okay, the challenger for tonight is this person, and the going up against the champion, this person. Well, in that case, when Shotzi was doing that, she did like a crazy move, and then she flipped and then went backwards, and she had bent her knees and everything. I don't know if maybe that didn't help either. She didn't get up like limping or anything, but it was already something that kind of like, for me, it stood out. So maybe she had something already there, and that didn't help. And then, as the match progressed, it was just bound to break. It's very unfortunate. Now she's out for 9 months. We're not gonna see Shotzi for 9 months. I like one of the things I like about Shotzi is her entrance. I don't know if you've seen her, Nick, but when she comes out in the big ass tank, that's pretty cool. She's always
Yeah, no, it's super military out. Like it's pretty badass.
yeah, man. So we didn't get her against Lyra. So then they kind of had to, play it by ear.
Improvise.
They
Yeah.
had to improvise, right? So you had the Rock's daughter come out, and she went ahead and announced an open challenge. And of course, we got Last Legend came in and had a fight with Lyra. Let me talk to you, Nick. What do you think, man? What did you think about the overall fight, or what did you think about the overall decision in general of bringing in Lash Legend? Do you think that was the right decision? Do you think that was the only decision they had? What was your take on this?
I don't know. It felt out of place, obviously, because that wasn't in the script. But I mean, at the end of the day, they could have picked someone else. I think Last Legend, it just looked awkward to me, and I think the match even ended quickly, and so it was something that WWE was not expecting of Shotzi to occur. I feel like WWE, as big as a company they are, you would think they'll have maybe some sort of backup plan, but I guess not in this case. And so they improvised, they played by the ear, and they did that. Overall, eh, you get me? Like, hey, I mean, they had to finish the show, so I guess that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you this. I'll give you this. I think the reason they went with Last Legend was because obviously they weren't expecting Shotzi to get hurt.
True.
So they needed somebody who had already wrestled that day. They needed somebody who was in their ring attire. They needed somebody that was gonna go against Lyra. And remember, before every match, typically they do a rundown. You understand me? So when they do a rundown, it's they know pretty much all their spots. In this particular case, you got two wrestling females who don't have any spots. They have not gone ahead and practice what their match is gonna be. So they everything they did during that match is just off the top of your head. Hey, we're gonna do this. That's it. And
But
this
what
is
about
about
the wrestlers that do like behind, like before the show starts, like the blackout matches? You don't think they would have picked one of those wrestlers?
that's one thing that they could have done. But see, but this is the thing. The only other person I think, because remember, you don't want to just give look at NXT. NXT is the type of company that the way they work is that they don't like to go ahead and just give out title matches to whoever, because remember they are kind of like building up their wrestlers, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have to put somebody who is like not stepping over somebody's toes. You understand me? So you can't go and just put in a newbie in there and just have her fight against her, because then they're saying, hey, hold on a second, she's kind of like surpassing everybody else. The one that I thought that they were gonna bring up, because she had fought before on that same night, was Roxanne, and
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't, and they brought a Last Legend. But again, remember, there is a lot of like it was last minute. They had to kind of just like wing it and realize, okay, who do we
Yeah,
have? Who's gonna be? And I think that's another reason why that match lasted so short, because
definitely.
you don't want anybody to get hurt. Again, your goal is to have a rundown with that person before. You don't want to kind of like off the top of your head, hey, let me just go wrestle her. Like, no, you typically like to go ahead and have um some type of story or an idea of how you're gonna wrestle that night against your opponent
Or
before.
what? Or why not just continue the flow? Like they bring out the stretcher, they stretch her out, and then they're like, oh my god, moment of silence, for her injury, and like,
Well, what
and then just disqualify the match and just not have a wrestling match, and then leave it as like a dramatic ending. Why not
well
that?
th- okay, so I see what you're getting, because I think you're kind of going
Like
ahead and
Dragonoff. Remember when Dragonoff went off
exactly.
and he
I
was like,
think
oh, and then he just went ahead and went to the.
But this is the thing. The difference between that scenario and this scenario is that the Dragunov scenario was actually a storyline. They actually had planned this already. So they already had a stretcher ready out there for them. They're already this guy already knew that he was gonna be on the side of the corner, like shaking his head. You knew the reaction, your facial expressions and everything. They already knew. In this particular case, it wasn't like that. In this particular case, it's like, hey, I got hurt. What ended up happening is as soon as she got hurt, coincidentally, they had to go to commercials as well. So you would just see that
Con más razón, bro.
yeah, no, but no, but they did that side to side, picture in picture type of view, and the picture in picture type of view, you would just see Shotzi getting helped by the other people from backstage helping her, move on, and then you kind of see Lyra just standing there saying like, what the hell's going on here, like what am I gonna do next, like, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to improvise and make it happen. I think they did a pretty good job. I like the fact that they at least, you know they came out there, and and the general manager Ava went ahead and said, hey, look, we're gonna give you a championship match, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you a championship match. So there,
Okay, I see what you mean.
and they gave somebody. So at least the fans were treated to the NXT Women's Championship match, and they just didn't just close it out with, "Hey, Shotzi's hurt," and then it ends that way. So,
Well,
um,
best recovery for Shotzi, and hopefully she has a smooth recovery. That's a devastating injury, and
yeah,
best of wishes for her and her recovery.
9 months, 9 months she'll be out, but hopefully, like you said, we could hopefully see her come back either sooner or even stronger. One of the two.
Yep.
All right, well then that's for our NXT talk. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next talk, which all you guys know we love to talk
Oh,
about is the Miami Dolphins. And then of course, it's a little bit different talking about the Dolphins now because we're in the off season. There's not that much going on right now. The football season's over. We have to now focus on, Miami Dolphins, how they could make this roster either the same or as close as the same or probably even better. So we're gonna have to, make some moves that are gonna be hits and some of them are gonna be misses on our end. Especially now that we've kind of settled down, now that we have our defensive coordinator. So obviously the next period that comes up about is obviously the franchise tag. And a lot of people are asking, hey, are we gonna go ahead and franchise tag Christian Wilkins? And also, on top of that, people are asking, hey, are we even going to re-sign him? Nick, talk to me, man. What do you think, man? Should the Dolphins go ahead and re-sign Christian Wilkins? Should they franchise tag him? Or should he just let him test the waters like we've done with some of our other guys last season?
I think they're gonna franchise tag him, and they're going to convince him. He really likes it down here. I know money talks, but he really likes it down here. I think the brotherhood he connected, as we saw back in the Hard Knocks, kind of gave proof that this is a strong connected team. And I think with Anthony Weaver now, he's probably going to give him, that talk, that one on one. And I truly believe they're going to franchise tag him. I don't think they're gonna make any contract negotiations. I may be right, I might be wrong. That's just an opinion, but I think that's the route they're gonna go to, especially now with how Xavier Howard and the Dolphins are kind of that. There's another mix going on with that, with them, with those two parties, and so I think Wilkins will get franchise tag, and it'll help us for next year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think they're gonna franchise tag him. And I know I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of Dougie, but he explains the different types of franchise tags. There's the non-exclusive franchise tag, which is the one that you could they use a lot when it's an unrestricted free agent. So they basically give him 1 year, the average of the 5 salaries of what he has been paid for before. And then it allows the player to negotiate with teams, but the club applying the tag has the right to match the offer. So that's the non-exclusive franchise tag. So that's one
There you
option.
go.
But then you have the exclusive franchise tag, which basically it indicates it prohibits other teams from negotiating with him. So if they go ahead and say, hey, if they do an exclusive franchise tag on Christian Wilkins, that's basically saying the Dolphins expect to re-sign him. So if we see them put a non-exclusive franchise tag, then they're gonna go ahead and allow him to test the waters and
I
see.
think that's what they're gonna do because he still wants to test the waters. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah, I think the Miami Dolphins will go ahead and do that. I mean, and if they do go ahead and do that non-exclusive franchise tag, what ends up happening is if he does end up going to another team, the Miami Dolphins would get two first round draft picks as a compensation.
There you go.
That's kind of like more the route I think they would go when it comes to Christian Wilkins with a franchise tag. Now the third franchise tag, I had to look it up because I don't remember too much, and that's the transition tag. And basically that means, and I'm reading this online, it says the third form of the tag also functions as a 1 year fully guaranteed contract, but it still works a bit differently. It only pays the player the average of the top 10 salaries at the position over the last season, and therefore it's cheaper than the two franchise tags. It says, however, it only guarantees the club the right of refusal to match any incoming offers to the player. If he leaves, his now former team will not receive any compensation. So the transition tag is, hey, we could go ahead, you're going to be in our team, but it's going to be cheaper because we're only getting the top 10 salaries of his position. But if another team decides to sign him, we can't go ahead and keep him, and we're not gonna get any compensation behind it. You feel me? So it's like you got those 3 options. I don't think personally they're gonna franchise tag him. I think they're gonna let him go, to be honest with you. I think it hurts the cap.
I hope not. He's a big piece, man. He had a good season.
I think yesterday after the show with Sean, I did some homework and I looked at the stats for Christian Wilkins and the stats for Zach Sealer.
Yeah.
And when you look at Zach Sealer's stats and you look
Thank you.
at Christian Wilkins' stats for last season, it wasn't that big of a difference, man. But Christian Wilkins had 9 sacks while Zach Sealer had 10. As far as combination tackles is concerned, Zach Sealer had 63 combination tackles, while Christian Wilkins' stats shows here that I think he had what? Let me look. He had 65. So it's a difference of just 2. So if you look at it, yes, a lot of people are concerned that, hey, the reason Zach Sealer was so productive was because Christian Wilkins was next to him and they're like a 1-2 punch. But if you kind of look at their stats, man, they're pretty much the same. And they decided to go ahead and sign Zach Sealer and, kind of allow Christian, to play out his contract. So um, is he worth that money? Does he deserve all that money? I'll give you my 2 opinions. As a Miami Dolphin fan, yes, you want to keep him, right? We draft picked him. He's a team player. He likes to play with Josh Allen's balls, and he does a lot of stuff for the team, right? He's
He's the trash talker, man.
He's a trash talker. He's a leader, but as a Miami Dolphins business type of view, let's keep it real. His numbers don't live up to what he's asking for. So you literally have to go ahead and make a tough decision and say maybe it is time for him to move on. I don't know. What do you think, Nick?
Look, both players complement each other. It's very tough to say, Sealer can have a great year moving forward and not needed Christian Wilkins, or we can see him decline a little bit. But I think the Dolphins are going to convince him to at least stay 1 year, or if not, like you said, give him the ability to still test water somewhere else. Overall, we're still going to try to find some pieces when free agency kicks in after franchise tag. So we'll see what happens. But like you said, and you said it perfectly, as a football Dolphins fan, you would want Wilkins to stick around. We like commitment. We like players who have loyalty to the team. And he's
And we
built a
drafted
lot of
him.
he's brought he brought a lot of his culture from Clemson, and it really helped out, weave out the defense and kind of give that attitude, that grind defense. But like you said, business is business, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. And then with that being said though, let's talk a little bit about the draft now. So now if we do go ahead and allow Christian Wilkins to walk, This year the Miami Dolphins have 6 picks. We got a first, a
Oof,
second, a
damn,
five,
that's a
a
lot.
six, a six, and a seven. So I haven't done my homework. I'm gonna do more and more of my homework to see what some of these mock drafts are starting to come out. I want to look at some of these uh prospects that we might go after. But there's a lot of people saying that the Dolphins are gonna go offensive line. Um
100%. We have to.
well, do we have to? Why do you say that, sir? Why do you think we gotta go offensive line?
Man, now knowing that Armstead is coming back from what I've been hearing, so we need depth. And if we don't have depth, if we lose Kendall Lamb or we don't know if Isaiah Wynn is going to come back, Connor Williams, we just got to go
Robert
young,
Hunt.
strong, and O-line. That I'm done having the Dolphins pay out linemen. We got to start landing these draft picks like how we landed with Rob Hunt. Maybe Rob Hunt. I mean, don't we have to resign Rob Hunt?
Yeah,
So now let me ask you this: would you rather keep Rob Hunt or Wilkins? I know it's kind of like a
Robert
what
Hunt.
if.
I would take Robert Hunt. I think
Exactly, because
I
because
I
the defense can carry itself even with.
not only that, but I always feel that it's easier to find a free agent in the defensive side or somebody or draft a defensive tackle they're out there. There's a lot of them, like it's not they're dime a dozen. When it comes to the offensive guys, you've seen how many times we've drafted offensive linemen
We
and
need a
they've
center, bro.
and
We
they've
need a guy who's gonna communicate with Tua.
and that's one of the things that is those are hard to find, they're not. So I've seen some mock drafts and I've seen that the Dolphins, there's a couple people that they're mentioning out there, so I want to mention their names, that way you guys can start doing a little bit of your homework the same way I'm going to do my homework. So one of the offensive linemen that the Dolphins are probably going to look into, and everybody's talking about it because they really really like him, he's probably the number one or number two best offensive lineman, and he plays center, which would be Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon. Like that's the one that
Mhm.
everybody kind of
Yep,
is saying, yo,
that's
the
true.
Dolphins should get.
From
But
Oregon.
the problem with that guy is there are other teams in front of us that might need offensive linemen. Jacksonville's another team that needs an offensive line guy. So it's like, is he going to be able to fall down that way? I think Pittsburgh is another one that was thinking about it. So, and I think Pittsburgh is just right above us. So it's like there is a lot of people who are interested in this kid. And I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to go ahead and fall down to the 21st pick. The other
Maybe
two
it
guys,
maybe it's smokescreen. Maybe they actually have someone else in mind.
well, from what I've been talking to with a lot of my friends and you and Sean and a couple of other people who I usually talk about the Dolphins, is a lot of people tell me, hey Frankie, why don't the Dolphins just go with the best available player and for the position that we need. So that means if the best player available right now is an offensive lineman, go get that guy. If the best available player right now is a defensive end or a defensive tackle, go get that guy. You feel me? It just kind of balances in that way. Now, the other two guys that are out there that are interesting is Amaris Mims from Georgia, who's very very talented, and then Troy Fautanu from Washington. He's another one out there that they've been mentioning with the Dolphins. Now, I did look it up and I did see that they also had a defensive end. If the Dolphins want to go after one, especially since we're not going to have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb at the beginning of the season, maybe Phillips, but not Chubb, which is from UCLA, Latu, some shit like that. It's like my bad if I mispronounce their name, but anyways, he's a good defensive end. He's a standing defensive end. I'm gonna do more of my homework. I'm gonna see what the Dolphins do. There is some mock drafts where they have Michael Penix Jr. going to the Dolphins at number 21. Now, I don't see the Dolphins picking a
No.
quarterback in the first round. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you pick a quarterback? Now, that's not to say a Dolphin shouldn't get a quarterback. They should get a quarterback because I honestly feel what the Dolphins should do is get a quarterback maybe in the 5th round or 6th round, kind of like what they did with Skyler, and release Mike White. We save up 4 million and then put Skyler and that other quarterback to duke it out for the second string and third string, and then that would be good. Um, that's the only reason I would go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and get a quarterback later down the rounds. But yes, like no doubt just finished saying, says why draft what you already have? Exactly, because he is exactly the same. But here's the and literally, I don't know if you've
He even
seen him
has
before.
a lengthy injury history too.
Yeah, but he's an older dude too. He's 24 years old, man. So he's not. He's been in
Oh, he's
the.
experienced already.
He's out there, but he's exactly the same. The only difference I think, no doubt, that he has is probably has a little bit more arm strength than Tua. That's the only difference. But he's still a lefty. He's still he's a kind of like the same type of
Yeah,
um
he's a shifty quarterback, mobile like Tua back in the college years. I get that. Yeah.
yeah, he's a replica of Tua, literally, just with a little bit more strong of an arm. So maybe I guess maybe Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer probably say, hey, if God forbid if something happens to Tua, literally we're not losing anything by going on to him. He's a replica of Tua, so he should be able to carry the team. And again, remember, you never know what could happen. You pick this guy up, he actually does really well, and then what ends up happening? This guy might be able to go ahead and supersede Tua. I mean, and I don't want you Tua lovers out there to say that I'm hating, but you never know. But it does open a door because now we have more money. Now we don't have to re-sign Tua. Now we have a couple of years to work with, and we're basically not losing anybody on the quarterback. That's not to say I want him. I'm just saying that's an option if the Dolphins were to do that. I highly doubt it, though. That's just me.
Jimmy G. Jimmy G.
People are telling me, Frankie, because I brought that up and I dropped that on the chat of the big O couple, I think it was last week. And I said, hey, look, I think it's perfect time for the Dolphins to pick Jimmy G because he's gonna be cheap. Once the Raiders release him, he's in legal trouble because obviously of the whole steroids and stuff like that. So he's gonna be cheap. And
So it wasn't steroids. It was a medical, medically prescribed uh
medicine.
recovery medicine. Yeah.
I mean, I know what I've read online is that if he would have announced it, he would have not gotten suspended. So it's like, it's probably an over the counter medicine that he probably didn't know any better.
Canelo style. He did it Canelo style.
Yeah, and then he got caught for it, and unfortunately, he got punished for it. And he's only gonna be out for 2 games. Like that's why
Two,
I'm
three.
saying
Yeah.
no, two, only two. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
why that's why I'm saying, like, if you could get him as a backup. But again, guys, I'm not saying that Jimmy's gonna pass Tua, but it's good to bring in some friendly competition. I know the Dolphins, everybody has been saying it. If you look at the other Dolphin podcasts out there, they all say that the Miami Dolphins don't like to bring competition for their quarterbacks. And I get that, but it's good to have. I remember when we had Tannehill, Nick, who did we have as a backup, which was solid, and still were able to keep him in the playoffs. And he played that playoff game for us. Obviously, we lost that one,
The
but
gunslinger, Matt Moore, baby.
hey,
Gunslinger, let's go.
don't you think it would be nice to have like a backup like Matt Moore again? Like
You know what's crazy? I remember Omar. Shout out to the All podcast, the All Dolphins podcast. I remember him mentioning that at one point there was like 2009, 2010, the team wanted Matt Moore to play as quarterback. Obviously, this was before Tannehill, but when you have a team that's rooting for someone to play for your as a quarterback, that's a good backup, bro. So yeah, definitely.
yeah, and of course, guys,
He's been the last good backup quarterback because we had Brock Tober. Remember Brock Osweiler?
it wasn't
He
bad.
he was
He
okay.
was decent.
And then obviously we don't want to talk about the other ones, but yeah,
Yeah, Teddy and those guys, and then of course,
Jacoby.
just our boy Jacoby Brissett, that guy. Those guys are so, man. Those guys. I mean, although it pissed me off that he actually did pretty decent in Cleveland, Jacoby. But at the end of the day, he was still trash. I would never bring him back. But overall, bringing Jimmy G is not a bad idea if he's cheap. If he's cheap, why
And Mike
not?
McDaniel and Mike. Is familiar with oh actually you have a good point, no doubt. Fitzmagic actually.
Fitzmagic
Um
was good too. Yes.
Fitzmagic was great with the mask. Yeah, and especially that Jimmy has familiar with the scheme with Mike McDaniel. Why not?
Hell yeah, man. And then
Let's
I
flirt
know
around with the idea at
I
least.
know a lot of you might go and say, hey, he's prone to injury and all that stuff. Look, let's not think negatively. He could be prone to injury or whatnot, but that's the same thing we were talking about with Tua, and Tua lasted the whole season. So if Tua can last the whole season, I don't see why Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't be able to last the whole season if he got the role of having to play, you know? So,
Correct.
and again, I think it's good, healthy competition for him. I do see no doubt saying, hey, look, if Penix falls down to three, get him. The only thing with that, no doubt, is that we don't have a number three pick this year. We only have a one, a two, a five, two sixes, and a seven. So that's the only unfortunate
Maybe
thing.
trade 3 of those picks to go to round 3. But I don't think it's worth it, bro. We need depth, man. Like you
Yeah,
said,
I don't
there's
think
so
they're gonna
many
trade.
there's so many holes that we have to fill in. You know, and we don't know what's the status with Van Ginkel and Deshaun Elliott. We don't know the status with Needham and Jones and Xavier Howard. So we first gotta let's not worry about the quarterback. We'll bring somebody in, focus on depth.
Well, again, I don't think they're gonna trade any. The only way they would trade somebody, trade for picks, is if they give somebody and gain more picks. Because I think they need to build off of their, rookies and the
Hmm.
guys coming out of college. Because again, we're so over the cap that we can't afford it to just go in free agency and splurge. We
Correct.
have to go ahead and get cheap players, and the only way you're gonna get cheap
Practice
players
squad players too.
is by either getting and remember, when I say cheap players, you mean cheap players that could still be like heavy hitters that could make the team still be really, really talented. And the only way you're gonna get that is by drafting them instead of going ahead and getting them from free agent, because the Zach Sealers of the world are not something that you always hit on, So that's
Correct.
the reason why. Um but overall, we're gonna be talking a little bit more about it as the draft comes closer. We're gonna see what the Dolphins hopefully make, and also we're gonna find out if Christian Wilkins does get tagged, which is in my eyes, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think he's gonna they're gonna let him go. But hey man, like I said, if there's somebody that I at least hope will know how to manipulate the numbers, it would be Chris Greer. So if he was to get tagged, I only hope that they would do the non-exclusive tag, which allows him to leave, test the waters, and if somebody likes him and picks him up, we get two first round picks for him. Two picks for in the first round. That I would like.
That's the most smartest strategy, honestly. Unless he's like, nope, don't want to flirt with that idea. I'm out.
Yeah. So, and then if he just wants to walk, then you know what? Let him walk, man. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice it.
Business is business, right?
Exactly. Sometimes you have to make those decisions. And those tough decisions, I don't think will cost the Dolphins. I think you could find a replacement for Christian Wilkins either in the draft or in free agency. And will be probably be deliver the same thing. Remember, he didn't shine against the tougher competition. He was really good against the easy competition. The tough competition, sometimes the guy disappeared. So again, my heart is with Christian Wilkins to stay,
Same.
but my money, if I was the Dolphins, I probably would have to let him go. All right. That being said, let's talk one last thing about football, and that is college football. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been approved. There will now be a 12-team playoff
Wow.
in college football starting next year. So that's going to be exciting because now all of a sudden, 12 teams are going to be able to compete. What ends up happening is the top 4 teams will get a bye, and then the next 8 teams will go ahead and duke it out. 5 will go against 12, 6 will go against 11, et cetera,
So
like
it's
that.
an extra game?
I don't think it's an extra game. They just put them as like, remember they're bowl games, so they just replace it as the bowl games. Like that's what they do. You
Yeah, but
understand
is
me?
it an extra game? Let's say people who land from 5 to 12, they just play an extra game.
Yes, 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 yes.
So then that you're telling me
It's kind of like
Florida State doesn't have to play 2 games, they just have to play 3 and they're going to win the championship.
yes, you're playing quarterfinals, then semifinals. No, actually, I'm sorry, wrong, because you would have to play. No, you would have to play. Wait, hold on, because the top 4 against the next top 4. So I think it would be round of 16, then quarterfinals, then semifinals, and then championship. I think you would have to play 4 games if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Right? Right? Because all right, hold on a second. Now you're making me think here. I didn't think about this before I actually started it. hold on a second. So if we got 12 teams, right? It's kind of like, is it kind of like the NBA? No, the
Yeah, so
NBA.
12, and well, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's 8. So then those 8 turn into 4.
Yeah, so those four would go against
So then
those
it would be the
four.
Elite 8,
That would be the Elite Eight. And then out of those, you get the final four,
the Final Four, which is
which was
semis.
semifinals, and then you would get the championship after for the winners from there. So yeah, it is it's round of 16, quarterfinals, which is the 8, semifinals, which is 4, and then the championship, which would be 2.
So top four gets a bye and only plays 3, while 5 and 12 play 4.
Yeah. So literally 4 and 3, you're either gonna play, which is good because at the end of the day, it works in each way, kind of in each side. 4, if you're in, if you fall within that 5 to 12, now you actually have a shot at winning a national championship. So you don't have, if you lose more than one game, you're not completely out of it. And I'll give you a reason why. So last year's standings, right? Last year's standings was Michigan, Washington, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Florida State, Missouri, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Arizona, and LSU. Those were the final standings. Again, it fluctuated obviously because of the results of the bowl game. So that's why I'm just giving you how the actually ended the season, right? And in this particular case, there was one, two, three teams that had one losses, and they would have still been in the college football playoff. So that's the benefit of it. You understand me? You don't, even if you lose one game, you still have a very good shot at making it and being able to win. And anything can happen. The bad thing is, like we were talking about, if you fall within that 5 to 12, now you're playing 4 games while the top 4 are only playing 3 games. So that's the kind of like the only
Yeah,
downfall.
and I'm reading here that
Yes, no doubt. Top 4 get a bye. Exactly. But look,
yeah,
it does
top four 6 skips the first round, and then which this is interesting, but the first round is based off on higher ranking. So whoever has the higher ranking has the home field advantage.
oh, that's cool. And then
And
it
then the second round, which is the quarterfinals, is when that's when you start saying they're circulating the bowls. So then that's when the bowl games start, like the Fiesta Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the All-State Sugar Bowl. And then the semifinals is the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and then the national championship game is uh in Atlanta.
and then the cool thing about it is, again, look at this year, just using the NFL as an example. Baltimore had a bye, but they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Kansas City did. So playing that extra game really didn't play such a huge factor at the end of the day. So it's a very, very open field now, which is good. It's
Cinderella
exciting.
stories for sure are gonna
Yeah,
happen.
man. And that's another thing. You're gonna be able to probably get some teams that would have never made it in the top 4 now actually compete. Those Cinderella teams. Like I remember that UCF team that went undefeated, and they never got a bowl game because they never
Or
got
the Boise State team that beat Oklahoma.
that
Remember with
boy
the
that
Statue of Liberty?
yeah,
That was classic.
those are teams that never would have gotten a shot in the playoff, in the 14 playoff, but now with 12 teams, they will definitely have a playoff shot. So it gives more opportunity, and it's also a better way to go ahead and recruit, right? If you're able to tell your up and coming high schoolers, "Hey, look, I was able to get the team over to the playoff. This is why you need to come to my school." Coaches are going to use that for their advantage, which will actually help them a lot. And you know how I feel about recruiting. Recruiting is one of the in college football. In order for you to win, you need to be able to recruit. That's why I honestly, even though I'm a Florida Gator, I've always told you, Nick, get ready because Florida State looks like they're going to be a solid team.
I
Uh,
checked their recruiting. They were top 10 in recruiting, and they were top 5 from like um picking up from other schools, like declaring other players. And
remember,
I and I and like you mentioned, a lot of Alabama prospects or current players left Alabama and now are heading towards teams like maybe Gainesville and the Gators, even and mostly a good chunk of them are still going to FSU. So watch out.
yeah, man, and I think is also doing a pretty decent job with the recruiting. Florida is the only one that kind of fell down a little bit. They were up there, and then I don't know what ended up happening at the end, and we lost a lot of recruits. So But we'll see. It should be fun, and we'll definitely stay in touch once the college football season starts um, this year. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, and that is the Miami Heat. And ladies and gentlemen, the Miami Heat finally are coming back. They're finally starting their next game, I believe, is on Friday. Um, and I have a couple things. So first, before we talk about the Heat, let's talk about this All-Star break. Nick, talk to me, man. What you think about the All-Star? Did you even see the All-Star game? Did you see the whole the
LED
3-point
court.
con the LED court, the 3-point contest, the slam dunk contest, the Steph Curry competition with the girl from the WNBA? Did you see any of that stuff, or did you just say, nah, I don't care about any of that crap?
I'm not gonna lie to you. If I'm gonna be straightforward, it wasn't something that caught my attention.
Wow.
Um, I tuned in. However, it's not like previous years where I'm like, man, I can't wait to watch the All Star, challenges and the 3-point, the dunk contest. Like everything has been very there hasn't been that much of an urgency for me to watch the All Star uh competition this year. And it's kind of disappointing in my eyes just because it seems like year in year out the All Stars losing its juice, and now they're just trying to come up with spectacles like LED courts, and they need to make something happen. And I think, and I believe this may cause a little bit of a controversy, but I think they should just eliminate the game in general, just like how they would eliminate I also feel like they should eliminate the Pro Bowl game as well, and they should just elevate the younger people and make the rookie versus sophomore the main thing, and then the um same thing with the Pro Bowlers. The NFL. I think the NFL should focus on the rookies and sophomores of football and kind of create like a Pro Bowl style. And then just have the other guys who you already know their talent, you already know their superstars, and have them enjoy the week.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I tuned in. So, I'm a big fan of Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp. So I did want to see those two guys with the celebrities playing, and I did watch that. That was pretty cool. Obviously the whole situation with the LED court was the biggest thing there. It was okay, the celebrity game. They were doing a couple things. They would put like special things like the crunch like time limit or something like that, where the numbers doubled. So if you shot a three, it would be a six. If you shoot a 4-pointer, it would be eight. They had that as well, that you have an or like a 4-point shot from like almost half court. And then the one that was like it was like extra points. Oh, they're on fire. Like they had a segment there where they were on fire, and then all of a sudden you would see 3-on-3, and whoever won the 3-on-3, those three players would be on fire and they would score double points. So they did a pretty good job with that celebrity game. I thought the LED court was okay. I think watching it live was probably even more badass, and I think it would been. I think it's cool if you're at the stand and you're sitting really high. You get to see like those graphics. I think that's pretty cool. Um, am I something that I will love to see more often? It was nice seeing it. I don't know how else they could switch it up, but let me talk to you about the 3-point contest. The 3-point contest, in my opinion, is always fun. I enjoy watching the 3-point contest like there's no tomorrow. I thought it was fun. I think they should make that the final contest instead of making it one of the first ones. I've completely was sold on the Steph Curry versus Sabrina of the WNBA. That, dude, I think they should do that more often. I think at the end of the day, um, who is this talking in the chat? It says Frankie Fresco's big O's. Oh, okay, I see, bro. The NBA sucks, man. Well, man, I mean, I'm telling you, man, the NBA is, everybody has to go ahead and see that at the end of the day, everybody has a different taste, man. So you could go ahead and say that the NBA sucks. The All-Star game in reality did suck. I didn't like the All-Star game. I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you. But when it comes to the 3-point contest and the Sabrina versus the Steph Curry, I thought that was perfect. I think that worked perfectly fine, and I think they should do it more often. I think it's gonna bring more viewership to not only the NBA but to the WNBA. And why not give the girls the opportunity to go ahead
100%. I agree
and
on
do
that.
it, man? You know, like that's something that I think will help the WNBA. Now, as far as the dunk contest, to be honest with you, man, I think the dunk contest sucks. Like I only tuned in because Jaime was there. I wanted to see how Jaime did for the Miami Heat. And I thought he got kind of, they kind of robbed him in that first round with that first dunk. I think he should have gotten more points. But that dunk contest, man, it sucks. And I know there's been debates out there saying, hey, when did the dunk contest or who's at fault for the dunk contest sucking? And a lot of people are saying, yo, ever since LeBron James turned it down, the dunk contest has sucked. Hey, man, you want to know something? LeBron James is not God. So, like, there's so many other basketball players that could have joined the dunk contest. I mean, Kevin Durant could have done it. There's Luca could have done it. You know,
Nah, Luca got rim stuffed on the All-Star game.
there's so many other guys out there. Like, I'm not gonna go ahead and blame LeBron James. I mean, he's not God, dude. Like, okay, he didn't do it. Oh well, who cares? But next man up, man. And before, I think the last slam dunk contest that I was like kind of intrigued was the one of
The
man, I
Zach
forgot.
Levine one.
Zach Levine was good, but no, that one it was good. It wasn't bad, but the last one that was big, I remember, to my eyes that I could remember is the one of the of this guy. He used to play in the Clippers
Blake
and
Griffin?
Blake Griffin, and he did the slam dunk over the car and
The
all that
Kia?
stuff. Yeah, over the Kia. That I think that was kind of like the last one. And man, it used to be like, look, me and my brother, we more like I'm in my late 30s. My brother's in his he's now 30. So like
Oof, that hurt.
our our kind of like our view, I wasn't able to see Michael Jordan dunk in the dunk contest. I don't remember him dunking. I don't remember if he did it in the 90s. I highly doubt it. I think he did it was in the 80s. And then same thing with Dominic Wilkins and all that stuff. So my childhood dunk memory is like Vince Carter. Vince Carter was a good one.
Mine was
Um
Nate Robinson.
Well, there you go. Nate Robinson, Blake Griffin was another one. You understand me? Like, so those guys were the ones who I could remember. Kobe Bryant, I remember. I remember Dwayne Wade also did it as well. So it's like you have a couple of these guys that I wish the newbies would come and do it, but it's just unfortunate that the NBA dunk contest sucks. It's just as bad as the All Star game. So
It lost its juice over time, and that's why I think we have to now, like I told you before, move on towards the established players and just emphasize more on the younger up and coming players that have more drive and need and want has more of a chip on the shoulder to try to prove, hey, look, I'm the next superstar or I'm very talented and so forth.
the other thing I wanted to ask you, Nick, before we move on to our final topic of the night is let's talk a little bit about the Miami Heat and the Miami Heat's ability to win games without our boy Jimmy Butler out there. And I wanted to bring up this question to Let Me Talk to You podcast because I'm starting to consider it, man. And that is, should the Miami Heat have Jimmy Butler come off the bench? What do you think? And then I'll tell you what I think.
No. I think that's not a good idea. He's our best player, he's our most aggressive player, he's our leader, and we shouldn't put him in the bench because right now the team is sparking up. Like I feel like maybe the next couple of games, if he's going through something, I mean, I know he unfortunately had something personal happen in his life. However, don't move him out of the rotation. I think we need to continue with the rotation we have now, including Butler. I guess we just got to decrease other people's minutes like Duncan and Jay Rich. But he's out too. So I just feel like it's not a good idea. He's our best player. That's kind of like saying, I don't know, the Boston Celtics are playing well without Jason Tatum, and then we should start him off in the bench. Like, no,
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna.
the reason I am contemplating putting Jimmy off the bench is for two reasons. Number one, yes, the run that the Heat are in, and yes, they beat the 76ers. didn't have Jimmy in that game. Yes, you spanked the crap out of Milwaukee, and I know Milwaukee's kind of been like on a hiatus ever since they fired their coach and they brought Doc Rivers and they're struggling with their defense, but the Heat were able to beat them without Jimmy. Then you also had the game before that, which was the Boston Celtics and the Heat, and that game was a close game where the Heat only lost by 4 points. Last time Jimmy played, it was against that San Antonio game, and Jimmy was averaging scored 17 points in that game. In the games that he did not play, you had other players come in and step up and take that leadership role that we sometimes you can't guarantee that Jimmy's going to give it to you because remember, Jimmy, although he had personal issues and all that right now, he tends to get injured, man. I mean, he tends to go and get hurt. And let's keep it real, the Miami Heat don't take the regular season that serious. Having these young guys come in and play and giving them more minutes, they're gonna take this shit seriously. I mean, look at how Nikolai Jovic did so well against Milwaukee. I mean, the guy had 24 points in that game. I remember that game, and I was like, holy crap, he was shooting threes left and right like there was no tomorrow. You were finding Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, both of those guys scoring 20 plus points, and then Duncan Robinson continuously showing every single game, hey, I can not only can I shoot, but I'm also gonna go ahead and play some defense. I mean, that has been the one who has actually sparked since Jimmy has gone down. Duncan Robinson, the last 3 games of the season before the All-Star break, he had 20 points against the Philadelphia 76ers. He had 23 points against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he had 15 points against the Boston Celtics. If you're getting that productivity from Duncan Robinson, then at the end of the day, man, you go with a hot hand and you bring him. And then not only that, but you also allow Jimmy to get that rest because what tends to happen with Jimmy is that he gets burned out and his body's so broken down by the time we're in the playoffs, he's struggling and he can't, we need him in the playoffs. So I wouldn't mind bringing him off the bench on a couple of these games, maybe not continuously, but definitely bring him off the bench. That way, physically his body
Okay.
is holding on. That Kawhi Leonard
Yeah, that
type of
workload control.
workload control. I think they should do that. And I know there's rules to the game where they've implemented this season where hey, you can't shut out a player. Again, I'm not saying not to play him. All I'm saying is just control his minutes, bring him off the bench. If you see that Duncan Robinson's having a rough night, then maybe you bring him sooner into the starting lineup for that game. You understand me? But just control him that way when we have to make that push at the end of the season, we
Okay.
have a pretty healthy Jimmy Butler. And there's a very, very good chance that we don't end up being in the playoff in the playoff game, which is the in-game playoff, whatever that
The
playoff
play-in
of
tournament.
being the playing tournament. There you go, the playing tournament. That's how you say it. So I think that's why I like that. I think Jimmy Butler would work perfectly fine coming off the bench. And if the Miami Heat are getting sparks from Duncan Robinson, from Jovic, from Jaime Jaquez, from Caleb Martin, hey man, you're only gaining the guys' confidence,
It's true.
So I see it as a win-win. I don't see it as something that they would lose. That's just me. All right. With that being said, we got our last topic, and of course, guys, you know that we always save the best for last, and that is football. Soccer is our last topic, and of course, right now, Inter Miami's playing. Nick, talk to me, man. How are they doing? Have you keep up with the score?
Right now, it seems like Inter Miami has scored. Robert Taylor, minute 39, assisted by yours truly,
Leo Messi,
Pulguita.
of course.
Pulguita! I told you, man, there's no panic mode. There's no panic mode. It was
Well,
season.
sir, let me ask you something, right? Because we brought Mr. Luis Suarez
Muelas?
for goals, and he hasn't scored, man. Robert Taylor scored. I know it's the first game. I know he still needs to get used to the team. I get it. But seriously, and I'm gonna tell you something. Raw Salt Lake, they were decent last year. They were number 5 in the Western Conference, so they're not a bad team. But come on, man, 1-0 against Raw Salt Lake and no goals from Luis Suarez. I expect more from Luis Suarez. That's who I
I
expect.
Hey, it's still first half. It just ended right now. It's 1-0. Good ball control, good possession of play. We'll see what happens in the second half. But for now, they're winning, and I think that's important.
I think the most craziest thing about the game is that they have Kristoff playing defense back there, and he's actually doing a decent job. He's not doing so bad after all.
Yep.
Because remember, he was the player that I'm shaky about because he
Yeah.
is replacing Kamal Miller, and he is very similar to Kamal Miller, the type of player who likes to just come mierda and just go out there and fall back and make some blunders here and there. But I'm looking at right now their ratings, and of course, Lionel Messi has the highest rating, but right behind them, obviously, is Robbie Taylor who scored, and r- then you have Aviles, the kid, the defensive
The
kid,
Argentino Aviles. Yep.
Tomas Aviles, who they said he's the 21-year-old, right? I think he's only
hmm
21 years old. He was playing in the Argentinian under 23 team. So that was the guy that they were like pushing and saying, "Yo, Inter Miami has a good player that watch out for him because that kid is gonna be productive." And Messi was like saying, "Yo, man, I like him." So we'll see, man. I hope they could continue with the win. But there also was some earlier soccer happening around 3 o'clock this afternoon, and there was some last yesterday as well. And that was Champions League. And in Champions League, ladies and gentlemen, we had two great games, sir. Talk to me, Nick. What did you think about the Champions League games today and the results? You had Barcelona tying 1-1 with Napoli, and then you had Porto uh beating Arsenal 1-0. What did you think about those two games?
Crazy, man. That Arsenal, I don't know. Something in me told me this morning that Porto had, a lot of like energy to upset Arsenal, and I think Arsenal right now is. I think their minds are more focused on trying to see if they can come back into the table in Premier League, and so I still don't think Porto is gonna win the leg because it was
Mhm.
just 1-0. I think Arsenal is gonna come back and beat. However, it was still a little shaky, but you know how Arsenal is. Arsenal's up and down. And Napoli and Barca, I keep telling you, man, Barca with Xavi, keeping this team relevant and putting the right players in the right position. And Napoli's no walk in the park. They won Serie A last year, and so having having to realize that Napoli needed a tie with Barca, having Victor Osimhen luckily make that great goal, um, and it just puts you in perspective that Barca still has a lot of talent, and we'll see. We'll see. It's the first leg, but this happened in Italy, so
Yep.
it goes back into Spain.
And not only that, but yesterday's game, we had Inter beat Atletico Madrid 1-0, and we have PSV and Dortmund tie 1-1. I had some parlays out there. I had Dortmund beating PSV and I lost. And then I also had Atletico Madrid and Inter tying. But Inter scored at in that second half. Um I honestly looking at these teams, I mean, it obviously it stayed 1-1 for PSV and Dortmund, so it looks like Dortmund should be able to handle business once they go back to Germany. And then Atletico Madrid should handle business, but remember, it's 1-0, so that could be a shaky one for Atletico Madrid. They could probably lose. So they need to be, they have to be on the concern side. As far as the Napoli and Barcelona, again, they were playing in Italy. So that's a concern for Napoli. The pressure is going to be on Napoli now. And then Porto, I had the feeling Porto was going to win because Arsenal always struggles on the road, bro. That's just how I feel with Arsenal, like, especially in Champions League. Like, if you look at their history, they've always struggled on the road. It's so funny. Um, but I know we weren't going to talk about this, but I do want to bring it up because you actually mentioned it about Xavi. But what did you think about our boy Tuchel deciding to walk out? And rumors are that Xavi might be an actual candidate over there now.
Going back into the last unspeaking unspoken, I spoke about how these coaches are getting these crazy expectations, and they didn't even give Tuchel, who won a Champions League with Chelsea, a full season. They literally they went in through this small skid, and from there, oh yeah, self-destruct mode and bring in. And I get it. Xabi Alonso right now is playing phenomenal coaching position in Bayern Leverkusen, and so I get it. Um, but still, that's another. I wonder where he's gonna go now. So that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, man. And with that being said, though, I think it's time, sir. I think it's time to us to go ahead and listen to your speak
Woo!
the unspoken moment, sir.
Hello, everybody. As you see my sweater, and you see the background, Real Madrid. I really don't talk about this because this is something that hasn't been spoken. It's been back and forth for many years since 2019, but now finally, I can finally say, published and announced by yours truly, Fabricio, big journalist in Spain, that in fact, indeed, Kylian Mbappe is in far negotiations with Real Madrid, and we already know he announced that he's no longer going to be with PSG after June. And so this whole dilemma with is he going to come to Madrid or not is finally it's going to be put into rest. It seems like there was some sort of rumors that Arsenal and I believe it was Barcelona that wanted a little bit of Mampe, but no, sir. His eyes on the prize was Real Madrid. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about it because I know it's been a lot of back and forth lately, but here at the podcast, we really don't mention that. And today I feel like it felt like a perfect day to mention it. Currently, right now in PSG, he's running through a 22 mil per year base salary, but he can get up to 200 million yearly. However, he's going to take a huge pay cut now coming into Barcelona. He's probably going to be averaging about 150, 162 signing on bonus with a 15 to 16 mil per year base salary. And so this is going to be great for Real Madrid. Real Madrid has the money. They've been providing crazy revenue in the past couple of years with the far journeys they've done with the champions, the times they've won champions. And so they've been very, very active when it comes to producing money. You haven't heard it as much because of the fact that PSG and Real Madrid are still in the Champions League. And so right now they both respectively handled their opponents in the first leg. Obviously, Real Madrid handled RB Leipzig and PSG handled Real Sociedad. So that's why there hasn't been any talks. But man, I'm so excited. I think this is going to be sooner than expected. And right now, on top of that, they've even spoken about it with Carlo Ancelotti. And he's already had some sort of mapping out on what type of game he wants Mampe to be in. And for now, it looks like he wants to be in the center, left side of the attack. And I don't know if other listeners noticed, but Real Madrid and Ancelotti has noticed that they're trying to rotate Vinicius and Rodrigo. Sometimes you see Vinicius on the left, sometimes you see him on the right, and vice versa with Rodrigo. And so I think this is something that Ancelotti was anticipating, and hey, he timed it right. So it seems like Vinicius may still stay on the left-hand side, but you never know because right now there's also rumors that if Modric moves on from Real Madrid this summer, then Ancelotti, in fact, will give the number 10 to Mbappe. And so this is going to be some sort of huge adjustment. Obviously, Bellingham has been the big man right now in Real Madrid. However, I think Jude Bellingham would kind of be more now in his natural position was kind of like, the true main midfield role. And so right now, having formations like 4-3-1-2 that they like to play or the 4-2-3-1, I think those are formations that will help make sure where Mampe could be. I personally feel like they should put him on the left side. But if you want to make up the number 10 and have the ball be pretty much played through him, I'm not against it. I'm very excited and I can't wait. I can't wait. I just feel like this is gonna be. It's so many years already. It's been almost close to 2 or 3 years now. This whole dilemma, and I can't believe it's happening. And I can't wait. I can't wait. La Liga is the best league right now in my eyes.
Whoa.
And so that's pretty much what I wanted to speak a little bit about on the spoken. And yeah, Hala Madrid.
All right, sir. Definitely a la Madrid right there. So yeah, man, I to kind of piggyback on what you said, man, I think if Madrid brings Mampe, that's a big, big, big pickup for them, and that kind of separates them from like everybody else over there, bro. I still don't think La Liga is the best league out there, sir. Just gotta keep it real with you. You know me, I'm a big EPL guy, so I still think EPL holds it down. But bringing in a heavy hitter like Mampe, will help that league
I
because
mean,
now you're gonna get some heavy hitters making their way over to La Liga. So it's
fun fact, Real Madrid has saved up so much money. I know they've made crazy purchases. They've done Chomeni and a little bit of Gama, and I think I'm missing one more piece. Oh, Jude. And so I know those are big purchases, but they still, from what I've read reports, that Madrid has the ability to spend up to 727 million euros.
Jesus Christ.
The second person behind them is Atletico with 306 million euros. And then finally Barcelona is in third with 270 million euros. And so it comes to show you that Madrid has created a dynasty and literally made sure that they picked up young talent and has ride with that team. They still have Cruz. They still have apparently Courtois is coming back, and so the goalkeeping position may be solidified again.
Good
You
point.
have Militao that's coming back. David Alaba, I've been hearing his injury is still delayed. I've been hearing Alfonso Davies wants to come, so that may solidify the left side of Real Madrid's defense. And so having so many young Cama, Valverde, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Mampe, Jude, it's I'm just afraid. The only thing that I'm afraid of that this isn't the first time Real Madrid has had a super team. I remember at one point Madrid had Kaká, Ronaldo, Ozil, young Benzi, Bale, and so all these players were on this team, and obviously they had to go against an even better team with Messi and company in Barcelona at the time. But hopefully, this is a team that's going to dominate for many more years to come.
Yeah, man. I think overall, if you bring in a talent like Mampe, uh, with much responsibility, much expectation picks up now, and they need to win if they bring him over. They should win. If they don't win, then it would be something that would kind of be of a letdown, in my opinion.
100%. Hmm.
They need to.
I
Um,
expect I expect a treble now. I expect a treble. I don't expect nothing less than that. Treble. You need to win La Copa del Rey, you need to win La Liga, and you need to win Champions. Treble.
yeah, I mean, uh, it's the pressure builds up, man. You're bringing a heavy hitter, man, and he not only does that pressure built up for Real Madrid, but it also builds up for Mampe because now you're really gonna see can he still be successful in La Liga. You know, we've seen how he's done in the French league, but can he keep it up in La Liga? You know, now you're not playing in France. Now you're playing in Spain, and a lot of people are gonna boo you, and a lot of
Mhm.
people are gonna go ahead and try to put you down. And you know, how are you gonna handle that adversity? Are you gonna be like the Messis out there, the Cristiano Ronaldos, where you're continuously gonna, you know, supersede the expectation that a lot of people have for you and you become probably the best soccer player out there. And remember, one thing that we were blessed to kind of live through was Messi and Ronaldo were one and two going at it, vice versa, one and like up and down, one and two. We got to do that. Right now, you don't have anybody like that right now. You know, like I know Haaland is good out there, but I still feel like Mampe is better than him,
Mhm.
and I feel like he can actually supersede a lot of these guys' records if you know if he just takes advantage of it and he's like, you know what, I'm the superstar right now, especially now that Cristiano and Messi are kind of winding down their careers.
I just feel like Mampe is gonna have a smooth transition, especially that Chomeni came from Monaco, and so he's transitioned pretty well. Gama, I believe, came from the French league as well. I think he came from Lille, I believe. And there's one more player that came from France that didn't have a bad transition either. Oh, Benzema. Benzema came from I'm not quite I think it was Nice,
I can look it
or
up.
it was, but there's been multiple French players or players that have been playing in the French league before and has excelled in La Liga. And so I'm not really that worried about his transition. The only thing that I'm a little bit worried about is when he starts. Apparently, he has expressed interest in joining the Olympics French soccer team for the Olympics in 2024 in Paris. And
Really?
so
Oh,
he
because it's in Paris. That's why.
exactly because it's in
Yeah,
Paris.
that's a
And
good
so
point.
and then Thierry Henry is going to be the coach for that team.
Yeah, but he's gonna play because when Brazil was in the Olympics that year, I remember Neymar went and actually helped Brazil.
And so
And actually,
if you can held the World Cup and a gold chip, a gold medal to your country, he's gonna try. So that may and I don't know if you know, but it's actually gonna happen now in July. July 26th through the 11th is the Olympic Paris Summer Games. And so that's when it's gonna happen in this year actually. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You have La Copa America, you have the Gold Cup for the women, you have now the Olympics. And so there's a lot going on, man.
the Copa America for the guys.
Copa America for the guys. By the way, Colombia is beating Panama 4-0.
Sorry, it was fun. Last thing we're gonna mention is Copa America tickets. They go on sale next Thursday, the 28th. So if you guys are interested in going and watching any South American and also CONCACAF, because this year they're combining it again, so they're making it USA, Canada, Mexico. They're gonna be in Copa America this year against the South American, and then of course remember guys, Miami is hosting the final, so that should be very fun. If you guys are interested in buying tickets, they go on sale on the 28th. Now, if you are a Miami Dolphins season ticket holder, or if you're, I guess, maybe a season ticket holder for any of the other football teams that are hosting a soccer game, there is a code that will be going out tomorrow. I don't know if you're going to be able to get the link and share the link or if it's just the code. I don't know because maybe the code. So tomorrow there is a pre-sale for these games. I don't know if the code is gonna be just posted on Twitter or whatnot, but if anybody's interested in the code and if it's just putting the code, just send me a message. I'll send you guys the code. That way, if you guys really want to go, I'll help you guys out as well. Because I honestly I'm gonna do my best to try to go ahead and get tickets. Obviously, me and my brother. I hope Nick. I hope we can make it over to Houston, man. That's the goal, right? Trying to go to
Man,
Houston.
I hope so. I mean, I would love to see my countrymen play and win a game in Copa America. That would be super badass. I'm not gonna front.
That would be cool, man. Watching Copa America live, and then remember we got the World Cup in 2 years, so it's pretty cool. Very very fortunate to be able to live this time and enjoy some soccer all around the United States, and it's a great time for us to be soccer fans here in the states as well, especially with our teams doing so well. Um, Inter Miami still up 1-0. They just started second half. But with that being said, guys, that will wrap up the show. Let me talk to you, episode 15. Don't forget to follow Fresco Music on all social platforms. Also, don't forget to tune into the Squared Circle Digest show that I also have with Sean. I know Sean does it on on his channel, but I also broadcast it on mine, so you could see it on either or. And then, of course, me and my brother, we have this show every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe. And again, if today we didn't have a guest, kind of we've been tied up both of us. But if you do want to be a guest, quickly just shoot me a message or comment on YouTube saying you would like to go ahead and be a guest, and I'll be more than happy to bring you in for whatever segment you would like to chime in. Nick, talk to me, bro. Where can they find you?
You can find me on my social platform X at that way Nick. I go by Detrapio. Like my brother said, don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. Don't forget to share this with your friends and family. We love to talk sports and we want to involve everybody in this channel. And then obviously I like to end the show with my quotes as usual. And one of the quotes is the great Michael Jordan. He said, "You must expect great things of yourself before you can do them." And I think that's something very, very, very important. You always got to expect great things for yourself. Never sell yourself short. Everyone is very talented in their own way. Make sure strive the greatest, and you never know where you can land, right? And so I think every day we should always give ourselves a big pat on the back because we all can do something great. We just got to make sure we expect and believe in ourselves.
Definitely, man. Great quote. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Official DJ Memo was out there, no
Oh,
doubt.
Stan.
Thank you so much. We had a newbie in there, G-Man the Dolphin. Thank you so much. I saw some of your comments in there, so that was funny. And of course, right at the last minute, better late than never. Our boy Stanley Media House. Don't forget to follow his channel as well. That's our boy Sean. He was a guest last week, so thank you as well. And to everybody who tuned in on Twitter or X, and everybody who's tuned in on Twitch, and of course here on YouTube, we really, really want to thank you guys. And before we go, I do want to go ahead and make a quick announcement. There is a very, 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 very good chance that starting next week, I might start going back on Twitter. I know we do the show here on Twitter. I'm sorry, not Twitter, Twitch. But I might make a return on Twitch when it comes to the DJing. So, moving forward, I'm gonna try to do my best to try to rotate them. Probably go on Twitch on Tuesday nights or go on Wednesday right after the show. But if I do decide to go either on Tuesday or Wednesday, you'll hear it. So you on the show, either on this one or on the Squared Circle. So just make sure you guys are tuning in to both of the shows. That way you could tell if you want to, switch to the Twitch channel. And my Twitch channel is the same. It's Fresco Music. So it's actually Fresco Music _DJ. Or I believe that's what it is. So if you guys went ahead and tune in, I'll probably start next week. I was making my studio back up and putting it all nice and pretty. So but yeah, let me just go ahead and stop because I'm gonna keep going and then we already gotta end the show. But Nick, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
to
brother.
everybody who watched us and everybody who tuned in. Thank you once again. We'll be back next week for Let Me Talk to You episode 16. In the meantime, enjoy. Let's go Inter Miami, and we'll talk to you later. Peace out.
Let me talk to you.
The biggest icon in wrestling.